So welcome everybody. So today we have Dave Terhune, who is the owner operator of the Chick-fil-A stores in Lombard and Wheaton. So Dave, to kind of start off, how many years have you been working in Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A. So I've been with Chick-fil-A since 2006. So I was first introduced to Chick-fil-A while I was in college. I didn't know what Chick-fil-A was or had never really even heard of it. Mainly because there were no Chick-fil-A's in the Midwest, and that's where I spent most of my growing up years. Um, while I was in school, there were two guys that lived across the hall from me, and they had a big "Eat More Chicken" banner hanging up in their room, and um, I saw that, and I was like, "Hey, what's Chick-fil-A? What's that all about?" And they started just going crazy over Chick-fil-A. They loved Chick-fil-A, and I thought they were absolutely nuts. I mean, for me, it was like, somebody going bonkers over Taco Bell or McDonald's or something. I mean, I'd never seen anybody that passionate about fast food brand company.
13 years is a lot. And last time you told me you started in the kitchen, working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so from your journey from in the kitchen to where you are now, what would you say it was your like the worst day, like a huge amount of people came in.
The hardest day,
Yeah.
I think a couple times in my career, one of the things with trying to become an owner operator, that my first goal was to do this program called the intro management program. And there's always 15 or 20 stores that don't have an owner operator, and they need somebody to come in and run those, and they're a Chick-fil-A corporate employee. And so it's I really wanted to compete to become an interim manager. How do I get into that? And there's an interview process with Chick-fil-A corporate, so you have to go interview and that sort of thing. And as part of becoming an operator, that's one of the steps of trying to become an operator. So you've got to be an interim manager. There was a day that I was working in the business that I was working in a mall in Atlanta, Georgia, Cumberland Mall, and it was lunchtime and it was very busy. And the phone rang, and I had interviewed with Chick-fil-A corporate a few weeks earlier, and here I'd been working 3 years to try to get into this program, and it was Chick-fil-A corporate HR, and the lady said, Dave, you did not get into this next round of classes, essentially saying I didn't get the job. And I just remember in that moment I was incredibly frustrated and disappointed, and I called my dad and I said, hey, I think I'm done with this. I'm done trying to do this. But that was kind of an emotional reaction. After a minute, I kind of was able to calm down and think about what that really meant. And then as the leader of that shift that day, I also saw, like, immediately my team could tell something's wrong with Dave, right? And the vibe and flow of the restaurant changed after that phone call. And I was able to see that my attitude and my response as a leader affected everybody on the team. And so that, I think, was one of the hardest days I had with Chick-fil-A, is when, I'd been working so hard for something, and to get that the disappointing news, it was also the first time in my life that I'd been really told no to something. That, I'd always been able to do well in school, always was able to do well in sports. I was always able to achieve what I wanted to achieve in human terms. If I wanted to do it, I could do it. And I think that was almost God's way of saying, hey, you might be a Chick-fil-A operator someday, but we're going to do it on my time and not your time. And this is not because it's something that you did, it's because it's something that I did. I think that was the Lord kind of teaching me in that moment that all good things come from Him, and it's not anything I did. I mean, I worked really hard, but I just took advantage of the opportunities the Lord put in front of me.
And eventually you reached that goal.
Yeah. And so 5 years later, 5 years from when I started, I eventually became an owner-operator of Chick-fil-A, and that was my dream, and I've loved it ever since.
Again, from all your years of experience here, was it ever a day that a bunch of people came and you ran out of chicken or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, our grand opening was incredibly busy. There's definitely been days that have been really stressful with the business, where you're, going to run out of, there's always those business challenges. I remember one day back in
2012 where there was Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and there were people lined up outside our building all day long. That was a very busy day. It was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of work. In those moments, you've got to rally your team around you. You've got to be a real strong encourager, and then you've got to figure out how am I going to get product. Whether it's I'm driving our distribution center in the middle of the night to get stuff so we can make sure we can open the next morning. Those are things you got to do sometimes. So there's always going to be those challenges.
Since you spoke about 2012, and maybe 2012 or 2013 was the big controversy with Kathy about the same-sex marriage and things like that.
Yeah.
By that time, were you in this store in Lombard? And
I did not. I was not. I only had one restaurant at that point. I just had Wheaton at that time.
And in Wheaton, did you feel like that backlash, like?
So, we didn't really have any backlash or anything. I mean, there were people on the media that were coming to defend Chick-fil-A, and that's why there was Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and our restaurants were incredibly busy. No, I think I think everybody has the right to believe what they want to believe, and I think that's what's great about America is we are allowed to believe what we want to believe on both sides of the equation, right? And so that's what I love about the country, and but it was just an interesting thing to be a part of. Chick-fil-A has never discriminated against anybody. Our thing, we want to treat everybody with honor and respect, no matter who you are. I've had people that, are gay that worked for me. That has nothing to do with anything. They have their right to live life the way they want to. So we're not going to discriminate anybody on anything.
Well, Dave, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with me, and I appreciate it a lot. And thank you again, man. See you next time.